Sanbonani, good evening. Dumelang, Molweni, Absheni. Um, Welcome to Stokvel Academy. My name is Khulu Skenjana. We're starting, albeit a little bit late. Apologies for that. Everybody who's been waiting for us. We are 2 minutes late. Yes, you are at the Stokvel Academy. South Africa's #1 Stokvel development institution. Our mission is to produce a generation of Stokvels that are generational wealth creators through our financial training programs. We believe in ourselves regardless. That is the motto and the value that we propose at Stokvel Academy. The topic for today is the 2023 Stokvel Academy Masterclass webinar, where we will be discussing business insurance and Stokvel business investment. We have two amazing, phenomenal guests. One, Kurhula Baloyi, pardon me, who is a regular here at Stokvel, and one, Portia Mamabolo. But before we carry on, I would like to announce that for today's webinar, there is a giveaway where we are giving away 3 coaching sessions that are up for grabs. One coaching session from each of our speakers, Kurhula and Portia, and of course, not forgetting our beloved Stokvel guru, Khulu Skenjana, affectionately known as Miss Busi at the Stokvel Academy. All you have to do to win one of the 3 coaching sessions is to engage with us in the chat box, and you will then stand a chance of winning either a free Stokvel coaching session with Khulu Skenjana, or you will win a free personal financial coaching session with Portia Mamabolo, or a free small business review session with Kurhula Baloyi. T's and C's apply. Right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our host for this evening, as usual, our Stokvel guru, Stokvelpreneur, Busi Skenjana, who is the founder of the Stokvel Academy, with more than 40 years of experience in the Stokvel industry as a Stokvel member and a Stokvelpreneur. Umambusi is passionate about the development of Stokvels as a generational wealth creation tool, and at the Stokvel Academy, we are striving to change Stokvel's consumerism culture into generational wealth creation culture. Mambusi, welcome, and over to you. Oh, pardon me. Of course, our first guest speaker, who is not a stranger to the Stokvel Academy, is Kurhula Baloyi. She is a founder of Sum1 Investments that provides short-term Stokvel investments. Sum1 invests in income-generating assets based predominantly in townships and rural areas across South Africa. The Sum1 Stokvel investment strives to provide inclusive economic growth and social impact through their investments. Their investment philosophy is rooted in achieving selected SDGs and upholding principles of responsible investing. That is Ms. Kurhula Baloyi, who will be joining us very shortly. I do believe that she's on standby. Yes, she is. Mambusi, over to you.
Thank you, Khulu. Thank you for that introduction, and good evening, everyone. Siyanamukela, we welcome you kwa Stokvel Academy as we are wrapping up the year 2023. I think we all have our luggages ready, packed to hit the coast, go back home, abagodukayo, abaya emakhaya, just to go and relax and reflect and on this long journey that is in 2023. But be that as it may, Stokvel Academy siyaqhubeka, we are continuing, we are learning as our philosophy stands that it is about wealth and wisdom. And I take it there is no pause in striving to actually generate wealth for yourself. That could be just by simply learning if you haven't started, especially if you are part of the Stokvel community. You may not necessarily be a member, but you are probably just checking out as to kuqhubekani kwaStokvela. So yes, I'm quite honored to be hosting you tonight. This webinar is not about me per se, but I'll just give you a brief background for those who haven't engaged with me. I've just discovered that I've actually been on this journey for more than 40 years. The first time I became a Stokvel member, it was in 1981. And I can still remember vividly those meetings. I can still remember vividly what I benefited out of Stokvel number one. Fast forward, I have been part of 7 Stokvels. And out of those 7 Stokvels, actually, there are only 2 Stokvels that are still existing. And those Stokvels have actually given me the accolades to actually claim that, Stokvels can indeed create generational wealth for anyone who is keen to use Stokvels as a tool, because my 2 Stokvels that are still existing are in the property space. But as I indicated, tonight is not about me, is to learn and share information from other Stokvelers, as we call them, people who are passionate about this Stokvel community. And I've got 2 amazing ladies tonight who will be sharing information with us regarding Stokvels as a tool that can assist us to create generational wealth. But not only that, just to make sure that our Stokvels are not operating as the 1652 Stokvels. They are now the future Stokvels. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Kurhula Baloyi. Kurhula has been part of the Stokvel Academy. I think this is our 3rd session. And yeah, I'm quite fascinated about her approach in terms of Stokvels. It's quite innovative, to be quite honest. I do believe in her, otherwise I wouldn't be having her as my guest, especially with all these scammy, funny things that are happening in the Stokvel space. So one has to be very careful as to who do you associate with. And I think, Kurhula, I'm not going to lose my head. It's not going to be chopped off by endorsing Sum1 Investment. We have been talking. Today, we are going to try to showcase some of the stuff that you are doing. Unfortunately, technology let us down a bit, so we'll not be able to see a live video, but we will try to engage with our viewers to the best of our ability so that they can have a full appreciation of what Sum1 Investments is doing. Absheni, good evening. Welcome, Kurhula.
Afshen Mambusi, good evening to everyone. Thank you so much once again for having me here today. It's always a privilege to chat with you and the Stokvel community at large.
Yeah, thank you. Kurhula, just for the benefit of some of our guests tonight who may not have attended some of our previous webinars, can you just briefly just give us a highlight of who Sum1 Investment is? What do you guys do? But before that, who is Kurhula Baloyi? What gives Kurhula, the right to actually say, I am part of Sum1 Investment? Who are you?
It's a good question. Thanks so much, Mambusi. I am Kurhula Baloyi. I actually started my career out in the investment banking division at Nedbank. And since then, I've worked across private markets, private markets, listed equity, which is usually investing in the JSE and other stock exchanges, all the way down to venture capitalists, which is investing in startups or smaller businesses. So I've worked across the entire investment value chain ever since I started my career, working for some of the largest global as well as local investment managers. So I've learned from the very, very best for the last couple of years until I decided to branch out on my own and start Sum1 Investments. And the reason I started Sum1 Investments was because people just kept asking me, yo, where can we invest? Where can we invest? You know how these investment things work. So although something that seemed quite simple to me wasn't as simple to other people around me, I then took it upon myself as my personal mission to help everyday people to get the opportunity to invest. And so that's how we started Sum1 Investments back in 2020. And one of the best and interesting parts of Sum1 Investments is that despite my background working with stocks and bonds, we actually don't invest in the traditional equity market or private markets. We invest back into our communities, as I like to think of it, because as much as our people are pulling their money together, which is stokvels and individuals, it was very important for us to put the money back into our communities, whether it's farmers, whether it's delivery bikes, whether it's small businesses. And hopefully by doing that, we can see a direct impact, whether it's jobs, whether it's a little bit more income in our communities, which I felt was a bit more real than investing in a company in the JSE, because you don't always see the direct impact if you put your money there. Especially if it's only a small amount of money, which most of our members are investing. So yeah, that's very high level, a little bit about me and a little bit about what we're doing at Sum1 Investments.
Of interest, I actually gave Kurhula a title that their Stokvel Sum1 Investment is what I call a Stokvel's VC, venture capitalist. Because in my 42 years journey, I've never come across a Stokvel that says we are investing in small businesses. So for me, that's quite interesting. And I hope that 20 years from now, we will see more small businesses developing, growing, supported by one of the stokvels. But that being said, it doesn't mean that stokvel should not look at the traditional, formal investment portfolios. For the purpose of this webinar, we are, of course, looking into what Sum1 Investment is doing, which is what Kurhula is going to be sharing with us tonight. I've actually requested her to just elaborate on one of the investments that they're doing, which is the motorbikes. Kurhula, can you just briefly take us through that? How does the process work? What is the journey?
Yeah, thanks for that, Mambusi. Yeah, I mean, all for the stock market and its benefits. There are definitely benefits that one can derive there. But for us, the thinking was, how can we be in a situation where we invest in assets that can provide very good returns? Mambusi, I'm sure in the time that you've worked with stokvels, you realize how they have very high expectations. They want very high returns, and they also don't want to lose their money at the same time. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, how are we going to do this? And one of the things that we had identified was the delivery bikes. So I'm just going to give you guys a high level overview in terms of how it works. So we actually, when we started out, we bought our first bike in 2020. This was actually a very good time because of COVID. If you guys can remember, there was a lot more deliveries than we had ever seen in our country before. And that sort of spiked the rise of all sorts of deliveries in the country. So we bought our first bike in Joburg. And we're like, okay, cool. How does this thing work? This was with our first members. When we started our stokvel, we had 8 members. We started with our 8 members. We pulled money together and we bought our first delivery bike. We got the top box, which is the thing you see, the delivery box. We went to Outsurance. Can you insure this bike in case something happens? We got it insured. We found a local mechanic, all those things, ne? And then we bought the bike. What was important then was to find a delivery partner that can then put a driver on the bike. So when we started, we didn't have a delivery partner. We managed the bike ourselves. So that's me, basically, me and my team, which was literally just the Stokvel members. We were all working together. And what this model does is that the delivery driver will pay you a weekly income, right? That's typically around anywhere between 600 and 700 Rand, depending on the bike model, and the state that the bike is in. So if you have a new bike that's likely an automatic bike, you'll probably be around the 700. So that's typically how much you expect from a bike weekly. So this guy is contributing money weekly. We'll then take that money at the end of the month, and some of that will go towards maintenance, and some of that will go towards insurance. And you do that, you repeat that process. And then at the end of it, at the time, bikes were much cheaper than they are now. So the amount of money that you would have paid for your bike, let's say 15,000 Rand, and the amount you would have made at the end of the year will probably be 20-something thousand Rand. And then we distributed amongst the Stokvel members. So you can then say, okay, this is how much money you'll get based on the returns that we get after minusing all of the running expenses and costs. We saw how well that worked. Then we can now expand to more bikes. And now we have bikes in the Western Cape and in Gauteng as well. So we're buying more bikes, we're managing more bikes. And that's when we started getting a delivery partner, because there was just too many bikes, too many drivers, too many routes. And so they help us manage that. But it was very important for us to manage the process ourselves at the beginning, so we actually know what's going on. So even when you are bringing in a partner, you know how this thing works, so no one can come and do funny things. So yeah, it's a very profitable model. But the way it works with the Stokvels is because Stokvels want their money, right? Like usually after a year. So we actually sell the bike. We don't keep each bike for like 2, 3, or 4 years, which you can do, which to be honest would make more money if we did that. But typically at the end of the year, we have to start trying to liquidate or sell the bikes. And the secondhand market for bikes is also very good, because not everyone can afford new bikes. So we would have made as much money as we can in the year, and then we try sell around December. So around January, Stokvel members can get the full money from the return of the bike as well as from the sale of the bike. And then we distribute that back to them. And then we start the process again in the new year. And this is purely because Stokvel members want to get their money back. And so at any given point in time, we're always looking to buy and then sell our bikes. And all of that is then distributed to Stokvel members. We just manage it and look after it and handle all of the admin when bikes are crashing, when bikes are being stolen. We handle all of that. Stokvel members, they sleep peacefully, hopefully, and they just get their money back. And what we do is we report to them on a monthly basis. So we'll let them know this month we bought, let's say it's a Sim Orbit, a scooter, or we bought a big boy. We've put it in Cape Town, or we've put it in Joburg, and then we explain to them. So at any given point in time, members will be aware of what's going on. They just don't have to worry about managing or handling things, collecting money, and any of those things. And we've done so well now that we've developed very good relationship with suppliers, with service providers, mechanics, insurance. We've negotiated rates to such a favorable point where a lot more money can go back to our Stokvel members. So yeah, that's how the bikes work. And we also have crop farming and livestock farming, where we buy cows and where we invest in produce. Typically in Limpopo, that's where our farmers are based. I'm from there, so it was quite easy place to set up. And this is mostly spinach, lettuce, tomatoes, and maize. And so we work with farmers to do that. It's interesting, you realize when you start this how difficult it is for farmers to access funding, whether in the form of investments or loans. And so we actually have seen the benefits in our rural communities by partnering with farmers, because we're able to give them funding to grow their farms. I'll give you an example with the crop farming. A lot of farmers that we've partnered with, you find that they have underutilized land. So they could have 2 hectares worth of land and maybe they're only using 1. And it's like, oof, that's so much, lost opportunity. And that's where we would usually come in. Some farmers are very happy to say, no, I'm okay. I'm not really interested in growing. We're fine here. But some actually do have a lot of appetite to expand their operations. And what they normally needed was just a little bit of money. So we come in again with the Stokvel's money, and then we partner with certain farmers. We've picked farmers that have very good track records. They're well established. We know where they've got an established partner in terms of, okay, you're selling to a shop, right? Okay, this is where the end product is going. And that also usually means that they've passed a certain criteria if they've partnered with a retailer in that regard. So we'll then work with them and say, let's help you give a little bit more or have a little bit more output. So we will then invest in, let's say, the second hectare that they're not using. We will then invest in that depending on the season so that they can utilize that space. And then once it's time to harvest and they've sold their produce, we'll then have a profit share with them. So we will split the money. They'll get their portion because they were there every day looking after the crops, making sure everything's okay. And then we will get our portion, which we then take and we split amongst the Stokvel members based on the amount of money that they had contributed. So that's how that model works. We've seen over time that there's also been a lot of interest and demand to help with farming equipment and all sorts of things like that to just optimize their farming processes. So what we normally initially started off as, it's actually growing and changing every day depending on what farmers need from us to make their operations better, more profitable, and to some extent more environmentally friendly. Because there's a lot of pressure on them as well to have good farming practices. And where we can, we also support our farmers because we've established good relationships in the industry, to link them up with training programs and so forth and so forth. It is in our best interest for our farmers to be the best farmers that they can be, because that means we'll get the best out of our investments as possible. And we've been working with a lot of our partners from the very beginning. We have good relationships with them, but every now and again, when we've reached our maximum capacity with them, we need to move on to a new farmer and start the relationship from scratch. So that is our process there. And I don't know if you want me to touch on livestock briefly, but I can do that as well. That's very similar to the farming model where we partner with farmers and they manage the livestock on our behalf.
Okay. No, thanks, Kurhula. I would imagine the process is pretty much similar. The process that you follow.
It's a similar model. Yeah.
Especially similar model when it comes to, especially with regards to agriculture. What I actually like is that you keep on referring to processes and systems, and for small businesses, we always battle with processes and systems. Stokvels, with all the desire and ambition and passion, we're eager to start businesses, but there are no processes, there are no systems, So I'm quite happy that you actually highlight that, which I take it's very important. And then also access to funding. I think it's one of the biggest challenges that we face. That is why Stokvels, in my view, should be actually used as a tool to actually assist small businesses or startups or youth in particular, to start their own businesses. And another important thing is the value chain. It seems like you've actually mastered the value chain, when you were explaining the motorbikes, which is another important component of running a business. I really appreciate that. And then finally, I just want to know, what has been your major headache when you woke up 12 at night, sweating and saying, my good gracious, Kurhula, why are you involving yourself in this? Just share with us There should have been that, sweaty evening.
Yeah, no, too many times. I think for me, maybe I'll even call it a breaking point, was when in 1 week we had 2 bike incidents, where one bike was stolen, and then another bike was in an accident. And I was literally sitting there and I'm like, oh my word, what must happen? And at that point, I was still managing the bikes. This was before we got a partner. And you feel it, you know what I mean? Because you're like, this is money. Sure, we have insurance, but there's still a process that you need to follow. Those couple of weeks that you're losing an income and you need to get the bike repaired or you need to claim with the insurer, it's a process, it's a headache. You have to go with the registration papers, you have to explain what happened. The driver has to explain what happened. The person who bumped them has to explain what happened. If it's stolen, it's even an even bigger headache. And all of those things. And I was like, oh my word, what are we doing? This is a mess. This is a nightmare. And now I'm flying between the provinces. I'm like, one is here, and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this anymore. This is so complicated. And at that point, that's when I realized that actually we're getting too big for me to manage on my own. And that's when I decided, let's actually get a delivery partner, because this process of me doing everything is not really helping us. And so it's something bad happened, but I think it helped me then think, okay, what do we do when we have crisis? How do we manage that? And how do we best manage our bikes as we're growing? And so that's what we do. So, I mean, thankfully, we do have insurance on all of our bikes, but just going through that process, because anything can happen literally at any moment. I mean, these guys are doing deliveries. You can see at 10 o'clock, you get a phone call. You are there having a nice time, getting ready for bed. My sister had a bike. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what happened? Why are you not at home? So these things happen. And you just have to deal with them as they come. You actually learn to get very thick skin. Now, if something happens, I'm unfazed. I know what to do. We solve it, and we're still able to get the good returns for the stokvels. So you realize then that it's actually not the end of the world. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Kurhula. Yeah, it's because, always what I've observed with these business opportunities that are presented to stokvels, only the brighter side of things is presented to them. And we never actually look into the darker side or the challenges that are out there. And of course, I know that we've got limited time. We won't be able to touch on everything. But, once more, I want to say thank you very much, for being innovative. And I'm looking forward to when actually your VC would be listed at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. You remember the deal that we made, Kurhula? That's what I'm looking forward to. And not only Sum1 Investment, getting other stokvels participating in this model, as opposed to the usual traditional stuff, siyangcwabana, imali iyajikeleza, rotational cash lending, and we go on holiday, we pay school fees, and because those are the things that we normally talk about or hear people talking about in stokvels. So I'm quite happy that you are seemingly making progress, and we're hoping that we'll continue engaging with you, and we are looking forward to the day where we'll be actually getting testimony from some of your partners, as you call them, in farming, in food, and of course in the motorbike sector. And thank you very much for sharing this with us. And we actually have a guest here who will probably highlight. You should know better because you are from the financial sector, but it always helps to have this information from other angles, the insurance part of it, and how can you insure your business, because this is one of the things that again we tend to overlook, especially as small businesses. And with stokvels, I'm very protective to stokvels that one say, oh, we're going into business. I say, guys, have you checked this? Have you checked this? Have you checked this? That is why we're having this kind of a seminar of a webinar as a Stokvel Academy. So thank you very much, Kurhula. I don't know if there's anything that you want to check with me, ask, from a Stokvel Academy perspective before we wrap up your session?
Yeah, no, thank you. As always, Mambusi. And I really do look forward to engaging you further. I'm still on that, to become the VC of Stokvels. It's our goal. That's where we're moving towards. And we'd really love to continue to work this journey with you until we get there. So thank you so much once again. And I look forward to engaging soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Kurhula. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this has been a valuable session, listening to Kurhula. And I'm handing over to our Honorable MC Khulu Skenjana.
Thank you so much, Mambusi. Thank you, Kurhula. And yes, we are definitely rooting for you to become the official VC of Stokvels. We will be with you until that happens, and hopefully even beyond. Our relationship with Sum1 Investment, Stokvel Academy, and Sum1 Investments will go on to greater and greater heights. And yeah, I'd just like to commend you. I mean, just to recap what Kurhula was speaking about, helping everyday people to get access to investments and to make investments, providing peace of mind by having come up with a business model that is seamless, where you can just rest assured that your business is well managed, insurance is provided, and as your business grows, specifically in the biking business, delivery partners are provided, and then also, I mean, just the groundbreaking work that they're doing in helping crop and livestock farmers expand their operations. Folks, please remember to engage us in the chat box, because you do stand a chance of winning 3 coaching sessions, which are up for grabs. 1 free Stokvel coaching session with Khulu Skenjana, 1 free personal finance coaching session with Portia Mamabolo, and 1 free small business review session with Kurhula Baloyi. T's and C's apply. Next up, I would like to welcome our next speaker, who is Portia Mamabolo. She is a corporate personal financial advisor. She holds a BCom in tax honors degree. She has over 10 years of working experience in corporate South Africa and has worked in parts of sub-Saharan Africa and West Africa. She has also had the privilege of traveling the world, traveling to world-class economies, pardon me. She assists individuals, entrepreneurs, families, and corporates to secure their financial futures. She specializes in retirement planning, tax planning, education planning, investments, business assurance, and risk planning. Her mission is to walk the journeys. Her mission is to walk the journeys in the personal economies of her clients to help them answer one of many questions, including, are they okay to do the things they value? Ms. Portia Mamabolo, welcome to the Stokvel Academy Masterclass webinar.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thanks for having me this evening.
Thank you for joining us. Mambusi, I think you could also join us and take over with
Tawa Stokvel Academy, with those kind of credentials, Kurhula, Portia, I think no one can question our vision to be South Africa's leading Stokvel development agency. Honestly, I don't care who says what. I'm so honored, I'm so proud to have you on board, Portia. And I'm looking forward to you sharing us the pearls of wisdom in terms of, protecting your wealth, if I may use the term, and disclaimer, I'm not educated in the financial language, I'm a marketer, but based on what Kurhula has just shared with us now, it sounds like you are just the perfect person to engage with when it comes to, for example, how can we insure our small business? Why is it important to insure our business? I've been in business for more than 25 years. I must be honest with you. I think I've got very limited insurance in my own personal business. Yeah, I wish I'd met you 25 years ago. So yeah, let's get on with it, Portia. And once more, welcome. I hope our viewers are going to find this session very beneficial. Thank you. So
Thank you.
why? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Busi.
Okay, my question is, first question, why is it important to insure your small business? But of course, you can touch on yourself despite,
The introduction. I won't mess up that introduction. It is beautiful, and it was lovely to listen to it being read by someone else. So Busi, I'll get straight into it, right? I think Busi, you and I have engaged, discussing around, stokvels that have gone business, right? Stokvels that have now registered as private companies, property stokvels, investment stokvels, and really today we're going to touch, on business assurance at that level, right, for that kind of setup of a stokvel. So we'll discuss what business assurance is, the different plans that are available under business assurance, and the product that underpins business assurance. So really, the first question around why is it important to cover your business? Busi, business assurance is simply business risk planning, and the two risk areas that we protect there or plan around is the event of death or disablement, right? And disablement being, it's a state of or a condition of you being unable to perform due to a mental or physical unfitness. So it could be the result of a handicap or a disability or an impairment. And when we think of impairment, we think of the weakening of something or something damaged, right? And that's in your body. So those are the two risks that we plan around for business owners under business assurance. Now, if you'll allow me, I can, already get into the different plans under business assurance, Busi. All right, I'll go ahead. So there are three different plans under business assurance, Busi, that we offer to business owners. The first one being contingent liability plan, the second one being a key man plan, and the third one being a buy and sell plan. Now let's start with the contingent liability plan. Now imagine you and your friend Busi go to the bank, and you say, listen, bank, we want to start a company, an investment company, a property company, and we want a loan. We want a business loan, or we want to finance our assets, right, Kurhula, or we want some kind of overdraft facility. And the bank says, okay, great, we'll give you that credit facility. And what happens is that you sign a suretyship agreement, right, between you and the bank. And what happens is that you and your business partner now become jointly and severally liable for that debt. Now, what happens? So the company is now running, okay, and it's profitable and it's doing well. What happens in the event that your business partner passes on? That other owner of the business passes on or experiences a disablement. In steps contingent liability cover that says that in the event of those two events, this policy will be cashed in by the entity and it will be used to settle that outstanding debt of the other owner, right? And the structure of that contingent liability plan, Busi, is that the owner the payer and the beneficiary of that policy, which is a life policy, is the company. And the different owners are the people that we insure. So they are the lives assured. So there's a contingent liability agreement that states that this is signed between the entity and the business owners, that in the event of death or disablement, the proceeds of that life cover will first go to settle the debt and cancel that suretyship with the bank for the deceased owner, right? And then that policy really is doing what it's supposed to do. It's settling that debt of the deceased. The benefit of that contingent liability is that the remaining owner can continue with their business without the added pressure of an extra debt. And imagine if they took more debt than you did, right, as the surviving business owner. So the bank cannot come to you in your personal capacity, and your legacy will continue to live, right, for your families and those that you leave behind with that kind of proper structure around debt management. That's the first scenario. The second scenario that business assurance really covers for business owners is a key man policy or a key man plan. Now, we all know that the bloodline of a business is its employees, right? But there are some employees that are more important than others. And these employees are the ones with the skills, the expertise, the knowledge, the business relationships that drive the profitability of the business, right? And so, in essence, businesses really need to assess who in their company are those individuals that if anything happens to them, our profitability is a serious problem, right? It will affect sales, it will affect revenue, and the overall performance of the company. The solution to that is a key man policy, right? And the structure of the key man policy, very similar to a contingent liability, says the company will nominate this key man. It can be a director or it can be an employee of the company, as long as they are essential to the profitability of the organization. So the company becomes the owner, the payer, and the beneficiary of a life policy. And the different individuals or the key men are the people that we insure. So in the event of death, disability, or severe illness of these particular key individuals, the policy will be paid into the company's bank account, and it will be used to protect against the loss of revenue. Now, an example of protecting against loss of revenue is that we can use that proceeds as a company to attract someone of the same caliber quickly, right? We don't have to go and look for the money. That money is coming in through a policy, and we can hire someone with the same caliber, or we can actually upskill someone who was probably coming up as a key person in the company. And I think the benefits speak for themselves, right? There's business continuity. There's very little loss of revenue because we've lost someone who was significant to the organization. And then lastly, we talk about a buy and sell agreement, Busi. Buy and sell agreement is different in the sense that you've got a situation where you've got shareholders, right? And the shareholders take out a life policy on the life of the other shareholders in the company. So if you've got shareholder 1 with 50% shareholding in the company, shareholder 2 with 25%, shareholder 3 with 25%, we take out a life policy on each other's lives. This is no longer going into the company. And a buy and sell agreement really answers the question of, if anything happens to one of the shareholders, if they die or there's disablement, the remaining shareholders can purchase the shares of the deceased shareholder. And they can also purchase a loan account if he had a loan account. The beauty of a buy and sell agreement, Busi, is that the proceeds, right? So the obligation is created through a buy and sell agreement. It's a contractual obligation saying that the deceased is obliged to sell his shares and the remaining shareholders are obliged to buy the shares. When they buy the shares, the cash value will be paid to the family members of that shareholder that is deceased. It will be a cash payment at fair value to those families of the shareholder that passed away. So that is in essence the structure of a buy and sell agreement. And like we said, the benefits of a buy and sell agreement, I think the theme is business continuity, generational wealth. How do we continue to see a company that still remains, after all the years, Busi, you've mentioned 2 stokvels that remain that are in property, right? The other benefit, Busi, as well, is that you don't have an external person coming in. Maybe it is a wife, maybe it is a son who really does not have the experience of the business, and they can be a bit disruptive to the business. So you're really closing up on that risk element as well. Those are the 3 plans, Busi: a contingent liability plan, a key man plan, and a buy and sell agreement, all underpinned by a life policy.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much, Portia, for highlighting that. You know what? It's so amazing that in 1998, when we as Kemano Stokvel, we decided to buy this property in Kruger Park Lodge, a Hazy View. One of the ladies said, "Ladies, what if something happens? Can we take a policy?" And we all said, yes, yes, yes. But I'll be honest with you, no one explained this whole thing as clear as you are doing now. But of course, yes, unfortunately, life happened. 2 of our members passed away. And actually, the first one, when she passed away, immediately that policy paid and it reduced our debt because we had just taken on a loan to purchase the property at Kruger Park Lodge. But I didn't know what it was called.
Yes.
Now I know that it's called, it's a contingent policy.
Yes.
But fast forward, her children are now beneficiaries because they are protected by the virtue of the fact that their mom's life was covered within the company. By the way, our Stokvel registered as a company, and I'm saying this for the benefit of other viewers there because we know that Stokvels are informal and all that, but it is important to actually now approach or register your Stokvel as a company if you will be going through these investment this investment journey, so that, for example, you can be able to get benefit from insurances like the one that Portia has highlighted. So for me, I think this is really quite a aha moment, in the sense that we know that election in the townships, when the owner of the shop that has been around for the past 40 years, siyavalwa isitolo, because the owner of the shop has passed away, probably because there was no key man insurance, I think, So these things that these different policies that we've just mentioned now, it's things that we don't know about as small businesses and especially Black people, because this kind of conversation does not normally take place in our, in our environments. Yeah. So thank you so
absolutely
much. Whether you want to add anything more.
Yes. I really do want to add to that, Busi, that, even established, companies, Black-owned companies, in the, very significant sectors are really not knowledgeable about business assurance. And so I'm really glad that, we can get an opportunity at the level at Stokvels to really bring this information out. And just to add one more thing, Busi, I think we also mentioned that is that Stokvels also now really can branch out and invest some portions of their monies, right, into long-term products, right, that can serve a purpose. So we have particular products that can serve a Stokvel community, that can actually be split into different bundles with a goal. So you can have a goal for your future, for the children's future education. You can have a goal for them traveling overseas, for them taking a gap year, for buying property for them. So I really think that that's still a major gap as well in our Stokvels. And obviously, lastly, for business owners, to do the basic thing around financial planning, which is putting a will in place. So foundational, so important for business owners. And as they do holistic financial planning, they'll begin to understand how their businesses affect their personal life. So they'll be able to really do complete estate planning to ensure that they continue to leave legacies for their families. Thanks, Busi.
In the will and estate planning, I think it's one of the huge gaps in terms of knowledge in our stokvels, in our communities, in our personal lives. We definitely sort of push it away as if, you know what, not today. I'm still going to be around. We don't know. Life happens. So I always say when I engage with stokvels, let us try and change our agenda or just enrich our traditional stokvel meeting agenda. For example, this afternoon we had a workshop, a face-to-face workshop in Soweto, and we were just talking about basic stokvel matters. And one of the points I highlighted was that your stokvel has been around. The agenda items are present, absent, who paid, who are we expelling because this person has been a big mouth or whatever. But we never ever add a line item in our stokvel agenda that says, let us invite Portia or Kurhula to come and just enlighten us about some of these complex, complicated financial matters, even as simple as estate planning or a will. So I couldn't agree with you that there is a huge gap in educating the stokvel community about these matters, be it on a personal level or business. Some of the stokvel people that we engaged with this afternoon in Soweto, this gentleman owns a tavern, and the other one owns a funeral parlor, but he belongs to 3, 4, 5 stokvels. He was counting me. There's a Monday stokvel, there's a Wednesday stokvel, there's a Sunday stokvel, and there's 1,000 rands that they contribute towards food. And after the workshop, he said, my good gracious, how much money can we save, by just having less of those meetings? So yes, this information, I think we need more. We can never have too much of this kind of information, Yeah, I don't know if there's any other important point that that you would like just to sum up, Portia, before I see our MCs there. Just give Portia a wrap up, a minute or a second.
I just want to say I'm really excited about being part of this community. I know you and I had a discussion last year already, and this year it's finally happening. So thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that the information here is really going to make a difference in the stokvel community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Portia. It certainly is. To me personally, I've learned a lot, and I hope the same applies to the rest of our viewers. Over to you, sir.
Aha moments indeed. Thank you so much, Ms. Mamabolo. That was very, very, very insightful. I mean, guys, there's nothing as sad as seeing a business, a shabalala, because of unfortunate events happening, be it a sickness, be it a tragedy happening, fires happen, maybe umuntu ushelwa yindlu, ushelwa business, and then all of a sudden the legacy that you've worked so hard for all of a sudden crumbles. And we thank you, Portia, for that information about business assurance that ensures that the legacy continues, that in the event of a mishap happening. So guys, really, Udelin Kapo has actually made a comment that it is very important to have business insurance because, in case anything happens, insurance, assurance is really important, no matter how small or how big your business is. In fact, it's better to start when your business is small, and the bigger it grows, the more cover you have. And also, I think a key thing that Portia raised is diversifying our investment portfolio as stokvels. You know, there's nothing wrong, guys, with Masingwabisane. There is nothing wrong with travel stokvels. There is nothing wrong with food stokvels and all of the traditional stokvel investment portfolios that we have. However, if we really start looking at our stokvels as investment tools to start businesses, then how much more easier is it going to be how much more easier is it going to be to travel? How much easier is it going to be to have enough money for groceries? How much easier is it going to be to I mentioned traveling, to have you know, money saved for your children's education? How much easier is it going to be to do all of the things that we are currently doing in Stokvel, and where, you know, with the work that Stokvel Academy is doing, it's actually showing us up as Stokvel members. Uguti, we are actually wasting a lot of money. So thank you very much once again to Kurhula and Portia for this very, very, very insightful information as to how we can make our stokvels, our money, work for us, and you know, be more valuable, give us more value rather. Guys, once again, last call for any more questions. Please engage. Remember that you stand a chance of winning 3 coaching sessions, 1 with Mambusi, our Stokvel guru, 1 with Portia, giving free financial coaching, and 1 free session with Ugurula on small business reviews. Before, what we're going to be doing now is having a Q&A session. I see that there are people who have actually put in some lovely questions for our guest speakers. And I also see that it's nice to see Uguti Stokvel Academy is growing. We have people from all over the country, Soweto, Cape Town, Queenstown, and we're even going international. I see one person from Lesotho. Welcome and thank you for joining us. The questions that we have, I have a question from one Winnie Ramini, and I think this question will be directed at you, Kurhula. What do you do if any one of your farmers, livestock or crop suffers a loss due to natural disasters? Kurhula?
Hi. Thank you for that question, and it's a very good question. A lot of you know, Stokvel members ask us this, or those looking to join our Stokvel. Interestingly enough, you are able to insure your livestock. You are also able to insure your crops. So we have insurance for that in the same way that we have insurance for bikes. So we just call our insurer and say, yo, something happened. Can you please assist us? And they will replace that in a monetary value based on how much it's worth. Thank you.
Okay, Winnie, I think you got that. Thank you so much, Kurhula. Our second question to you again, Kurhula. If you allow people to invest with Sum1 Investment, is there a minimum amount for somebody to, you know?
Yes, we have a minimum investment and it starts at 500 Rand. The way it typically works is that members will contribute monthly as they do in their stokvels. We also allow members to invest a lump sum once off, depending on their preference. So we try and be a bit flexible in that regard.
Okie dokie, thank you for that. And then another question is for you again, Kurhula. I see you're very popular with our guests today. is it possible to join Sum1 Investment as an individual? And if yes, what are the requirements? And perhaps could I ask, as an individual and as a Stokvel, how does one join Sum1 Investment?
Yeah. So yeah, you are allowed to join Sum1 Investments as an individual. Actually, when we started off, it was a group of individuals. So you can join as an individual or as a Stokvel. So as an individual, you'll just sign up. We have a sign up form. You'll fill in your details. Hi, I'm Kurhula, and these are my personal details. And yeah, it's that simple. And if you're a Stokvel, you can just sign up the same way, but you are signing up as a Stokvel, and typically there'll be a representative of the Stokvel. So either it's the chairperson or the treasurer, whoever has the rights to sort of make the decisions for the Stokvel, and will be our key contact person. So you can sign up there. If you are an individual, though, you shouldn't feel left out, because we do try and create a sense of community. So we'll have things like WhatsApp groups, so you can still engage with other people and still feel like you're part of, the Sum1 Stokvel community, even though you're an individual. So yeah. You can, I'm not sure if you guys have access to our website, but you can just put in your personal details there, and one of our consultants can just get back to you via WhatsApp or a phone call, whichever is easier for you, if you're interested.
Thank you very much for that, Kurhula. And I think we have one more comment, actually. I'd like to just, Isaiah Mbeu is basically asking that Portia, please, if we can have Portia's presentation in writing so that we can remember those policies. Isaiah, we will be posting this webinar on our YouTube page, so you'll have access to watch this again at a later stage and recap and make notes in case you missed anything. So worry not, my brother. And then, are there any joining fees? Delang Ngwane is asking. Kurhula?
No, we don't have a joining fee. No. The only fees that you would incur if you're a part of our Stokvel are the investment costs as we get in and out of investments. But that is usually covered by the returns that you're making. So we will just deduct that fee, and yeah, it's like very, very minimal. And you'll see that in your statements once you become a member, how much that is. But it's really not that much.
Okay, thank you for that. And then Jane Muloy is asking, how can she register a Stokvel as a company?
As a company?
Yeah, I don't know who would answer that. Would that be
That's Mambusi
or Portia?
Yeah, probably better placed.
Look, I think from my perspective, there are basic standard processes of registering a company. We know that you have to be part of CIPC, and I know some of the banks, they offer that services now for company registration. But the first thing is, as a Stokvel, you need to agree that we now want to operate as a company, because you have to comply. There's compliance issues. For example, you need to submit your returns annually. Depending on the nature of the business, you get into the tax matters. That's where you need the likes of the Portia and the Kurhulas and all that. So yes, you can approach your bank. I always say that's the easiest way. There's a small business section, all banks have that, and say, I'm Stokvel X, would like to register a company, and they will certainly advise how to go about that. And we live in the world of the amazing internet and all that. You will certainly get that information. But I certainly advise Stokvels who want to venture into business to treat it as a business, and so that they can be protected by insurances like the ones that were mentioned by Portia, and also to be able to handle as the ruler highlighted, the processes and the systems. Because if you are a like a stokvel, we don't talk about these processes and systems and partners and value chain and all that stuff. So yeah, you can certainly get information about how to register as a stokvel, as a company, from the bank's first point of call.
Thank you very much, Ms. Busi. And guys, that about wraps it up for our Q&A session. Now, remember, guys, the winners to our 3 giveaway sessions will be announced on our social media platforms, and you winners will get a call from our Stokvel Academy team. Thank you once again to all of our audiences. You could have been anywhere, and you chose to be with us today. Thank you to our speakers for 2 very powerful presentations. Thank you, Mambusi, for this initiative and the very, very, very important work that you do at Stokvel Academy. Guys, look, especially in this economy, there's a lot of money that's circulating within our Stokvels. A lot of money, but obviously it's just a lot of money that is misspent, misdirected, misinvested, and we tend to take all of our money and kind of put it all in one basket, or maybe 2, 3 baskets, and yet we could diversify, all of that money so much better with the help of the likes of Portia Mamabolo and Kurhula Baloyi, to just ensure that we get more value for our buck, and how much we need value from that buck that is, really proving to be scarce in this day and age. So, Bantbagiti, I have faith in you. As Stokvel Academy says, believing in yourself no matter what. You can't believe in yourself if you are constantly doing the wrong thing. If you want something new, you have to do something. You have to stop doing something old, as one Peter Drucker says. Yeah, one. So guys, let's really reinvent ourselves as Stokvels. No longer the 19-foot Stokvels. We are now to the future. It is indeed all about wealth and wisdom. Mambusi, I think you have something to offer.
Thanks. Just a parting shot for me is that as Stokvels community, we really need to strive for wealth, because wealth, I'm told, gives you choices as compared to being rich, which is just a lifestyle. So most of the Stokvels are lifestyle orientated. This car, these shoes, this house, and all these things that we brag about. But if we could focus in wealth creation, wealth protection, and wealth preservation, I think we are certainly going to have a better future as the Stokvel community. By the way, there's more than 12 million people in South Africa who belong to Stokvels. There's more than 60 billion that circulates within Stokvels. So there is no way that we cannot be able to build wealth so that we can all have choices in life. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's actually made time to be part of this webinar. And I would like to thank Kurhula and Portia from the bottom of my heart for embracing us as Stokvel Academy. This does give credibility to us, because Stokvels are scared of being scammed. I want to emphasize that. So having young, bright sparks, young, bright ladies, professional ladies like yourself, it makes my tasks our task a bit easier. Thank you very much. And thank you to you, our program director. You've done a sterling job. Siyabonga, siyabulela kakhulu.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies. And indeed, it sounds like the whole Stokvel community is wealth lying dormant. Let's stop being rich. Let's get on with the business of becoming wealthy, because the potential we certainly do have as South African Stokvel members. Thank you once again to all of our guest speakers, to everybody who decided to join. And to learn more about us, Stokvel Academy, please visit us at stokvelacademy.co.za or follow us on our social media networks by simply searching Stokvel, Stokvel Academy, and you will find us on all social media platforms. And just in closing, one person did ask about Kurhula's website for Sum1 Investment. It is simply Sum1 Investments.co.za. Thank you very much and good night.